Hello! I want to talk about why I've stopped building watches from AliExpress. There's sort of a few different reasons, so I'm going to break this video down into 4 different parts. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, basically for the last few years I've been building watches using parts from AliExpress. It came about by chance. This, by the way, is my personal channel. I have another channel, so this is my personal channel, and essentially I saw a watch. I then discovered that I could kind of copy it using parts from AliExpress for really cheap. I could learn how to do something new and make a cool video showing it to all of you. And it went really viral. It got like 1 million something views, which is amazing. And I think a lot of people really liked the idea of being able to just design their own watch and then build it and then have it on their wrist and it be something sort of personal to them. Don't get me wrong, I think it's brilliant and I think the watches are brilliant and I've had a great time building them, but I haven't built one for a long time. There's 4 reasons why. Let's begin. Price. So when I first started this, I could pick up the movement for £20. The watch movement inside the watch, which makes the watch work, was £20. It's a Japanese movement by Seiko called the NH35, and £20 for that is absolutely remarkable because they were using these movements in like micro brand watches that were, 10 times the price of the movement. So it was great value for money. Now, that same movement is 3 times more expensive. It's now £60, which is, I'm gonna put that up on the screen in dollars, but I imagine that's probably something like 80 something dollars, which is kind of insane because also you're building the watch yourself, so there's a risk. And so a few things could go wrong, like you could damage the hands. The hands are cheap and they're still cheap. They're only a few pounds. But that being said, I ordered a movement recently that arrived broken and I had to take the whole thing apart basically. Well, not the whole thing, but I had to take it apart to fix it, which not many people are gonna wanna try and do. So the price has skyrocketed. The case and the bracelet and all those sorts of components, they're more or less the same, but those were never that good quality to begin with. They're not bad, they're certainly kind of decent. The price to quality is no longer as justifiable as it once was. It's gone up so much more. Now, I actually saw while doing the research for this video that China themselves have made a new movement to copy the NH35. The reason is probably because of the fact that the demand is so high, and also a part of the appeal to begin with was the fact that the movements were cheap. So China have made their own. I reckon they're gonna be terrible. And even still, they're like £15 more than the Seiko one was when I first started. So the price has kind of made it less justifiable now. Necessity. So obviously, once you've built a couple of them, do you need more? I mean, obviously watch collecting is a very addictive thing. I have a collection of watches, but when you've kind of done a few of these, I think it scratches the itch. Now that's obviously going to be like personal to each individual, but for me, once you've built like, I built like probably 10 or 15, which is mental, but that's because I'm a YouTuber. But if you build like 2 or 3 of them, you're probably going to think, well, do you know what? I've got a nice collection of watches now, and I'm just going to be spending more money on building what is effectively the same thing, which looks different, because these are all, these Seiko kind of movements with these Chinese cases. And I just don't think that many people would keep buying more. And obviously that was also reflected in kind of the views trailing off in the series of the videos on my channel. So I think that makes sense, but I don't think you need several different watches, these AliExpress watches. They're all kind of similar. The only thing being different is obviously just how they look, but that's very different to having different brands and completely different styles of watches. Now obviously you could get different styles from these AliExpress watches, but there's something about maybe having an actual kind of dress watch by a company that makes nice dress watches, or a dive watch by a company that is known for kind of making dive watches, that sort of thing. So you can make a selection, you can make a kind of a collection, but they're all kind of just the same thing, but just look different. Originality. Now, I've touched on this a little bit already, but obviously these are either sort of like copies or made to look like, or they're just like straight up fake. You know, they have like actual branding on, which I always try to avoid, but you can't. People were actually buying these watches with the branding on, which I think is kind of shocking. I mean, I don't like that personally. I can understand why other people don't really care as much, but for me, the last thing I'd want is for someone to look at my wrist and go, "Oh, is that a such and such watch?" And then for me to have to say, no, it's not. Maybe it's a pride thing, maybe it's an ego thing, or maybe it's just even from a distance, I don't want anyone to think that I'm wearing something that I'm not. Now, obviously, brands have provenance, they have history. And a lot of these watches that I was building on AliExpress, they just felt kind of a little bit empty, a little bit like devoid of kind of personality and history. And this, like I said before, there's something about, you know, doing a bit of research on a brand and kind of liking the brand and liking what the watch is and what the history and how it's developed through time, you know, especially with like Seiko dive watches and stuff. You know, a lot of the design language is has carried on through history, through into present day, where it's kind of taking sort of design inspiration from their historic watches and bringing it into the modern day. So there's actually something you can talk about with that as well, which is a really exciting thing. And you can research it and get really lost in the kind of lore of it all, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Whereas these AliExpress watches, they don't have that. You know, I bought a really small little Seiko from a market, which is really cool. You can get some different straps and change how it looks, but at the end of the day, it's a cool actual vintage watch, which is just, you can't buy that from AliExpress. you know, it's something that you rummage around, you find, you inherit, you know, you restore, you repair, and it's just a very different thing. And I'm not saying that buying a watch and building a watch isn't going to be cool for some people. You know, remember, a lot of this is subjective and personal preference, but this is why I stopped building AliExpress watches. But I much prefer having a little collection of kind of like, you know, authentic, cheap watches rather than just building these kind of soulless copies. Personal. Now, the final thing, the thing that a lot of people probably aren't going to care about, personally, why I stopped. Well, there's quite a few reasons. First one is, like I said right back at the start, this is my second channel. I've got a main channel where I do kind of big, long, in-depth restorations or repairs or modifications to do with retro gaming, mostly. Now, I've done the whole kind of like making quick videos and making easy, low-hanging fruit quick videos and releasing them. And a lot of the time, you know, I mean, they've done well, these AliExpress watch videos, they've done really well. And it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense for me to be stopping, especially making this video where I tell people maybe go and buy an actual genuine watch. But I don't know that I really get off on making quick videos that I don't like actually really kind of desperately, deeply kind of want to make. I haven't got like a thirst for making, I don't know if I like that word, but I haven't really got that kind of hunger for making those types of videos. What I want to make is like really kind of in-depth projects that take me weeks. Because when I release that, I get really excited about how people kind of feel watching that. Whereas I think not to undermine the videos of building these watches, because they were cool, but I think after like the 10th one, the only thing that's different is the color of the dial, the shape of the hands, and the shape of the case. And, you know, I'm not really sure that I was feeling like it was kind of filling up my cup anymore. So that's one of those reasons. And possibly the biggest reason of all for me personally is that it served as a gateway. I did all of these hand placing, dial placing, bracelet fitting, and then I was like, maybe I can actually do this for real to an actual watch, because I've always loved restoring watches, and I was doing it with my friend David, who would restore the movement for me, and then I would kind of like buy the various different new replacement parts and build it. And then I just wanted to have a go at doing it myself. Now, the first one I did, I actually did it and I got the watch working, which is absolutely insane. I fully stripped down a vintage Seiko movement and reassembled it and got the watch working. It wasn't working very well, so I sent it over to my friend Mike from My Retro Watches, and now it's a watch that I wear nearly every single day, and I love it so much. And there's something about the fact that building these AliExpress watches that served as a little bit of a gateway for me, which means that now I'm way more excited about restoring watches. And I've actually bought quite a few little cheap vintage watches to have a go at servicing. I picked up this £20 watch, this dive watch, this vintage dive watch, that I would really like to do a video kind of restoring, so that people who might go to a car boot sale or a thrift shop or a yard sale and find a watch that's not working, maybe can pick up some tools and have a go at doing this themselves. I'm really digging just actually wearing like vintage watches and also buying, you know, genuine watches, ones that I can afford, you know, Seikos and those kind of like level of watch that you can afford, because I don't want this to make it sound like an ad for Seiko. This video is not sponsored by anyone, by the way, but you can, like, even if you don't want to go into a boutique and spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds on a new Seiko, you can buy a second-hand one, which is really, really good for a couple of £100. You know, 2 AliExpress watches buys you a really, really good Seiko. I just bought one for my stepdad's brother, Tim. Hi, Tim, if you're watching. Which is a Seiko Turtle watch, which was a manta ray design. It was really, really cool, and he absolutely loves it. And that was like £230, which is just amazing. And if you do see a Seiko that you really like, there is a really exciting and nice feeling about going into a boutique and treating yourself to a watch that no one's worn yet but you, and buying it and having that whole experience that is maybe going to cost you 5 or 6 AliExpress watches, but there's just something really nice about buying a new watch that's actually something that you've maybe like saved up for and really looked into and sort of have been thinking about for a while, and then you achieve something and you treat yourself, and that just feels really exciting. But yeah, I don't want to ramble on for too long. I hope that this video has been somewhat interesting. Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you're doing with these watches, if you're still building them. I've met quite a few people out in the wild that have recognized me from building watches, which is kind of mental, and they say that it's been a really cool thing for them, and they've got one now and they love it. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you all in the next one where I build a watch from AliExpress. Goodbye.